On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. Again, we've been teased and continuing to be teased and actually getting some additional information today to kind of lead us into the direction of what we might be hearing about over this week and next. I think we got a lot of information that's going to be coming. Q has been posting like a madman after the guy was dark for eons, and now all of a sudden he's posting like crazy. And so, again, we've got a great little bit of information to kind of get through. Let's get going on it. So 4699 is where we left off. It's the next post here. What happens when people in positions of power are sympathizers to the cause or part of the same organization themselves? What is a safe zone? Now, a safe zone is a place where people don't get in trouble, where they can cause crime and chaos, and mayors and whatnot have said, police stand down from these areas. That is what a safe zone is. Why are riots conducted in specific decontrolled locations? Because they don't work when you go to the Republican-controlled locations. They put an end to it. That doesn't happen. The only place where this can happen is where the mayors and the governors are in cahoots or at least in agreement with the process that these illegal activities are doing. So what happened when elected officials or governors and mayors handcuff the officers instead of the criminals? You guys are seeing where this is leading, right? What happens when elected officials, governors and mayors, refuse to call in the National Guard or other federal assistance? Isn't their job to keep us safe in their cities and states? What happens when they don't do that? Sacrificing the lives and well-being of the community for a calculated political gain and or possibly something else more nefarious. And again, they're saying or other in that, yeah, I think most of us realize there is a more nefarious side to it, but let's stick to the facts. Let's talk about what we can talk about. So they link a quick thing here. Man arrested for starting at least 7 brush fires along I-205. Mr. Domingo Lopez Jr. was arrested Sunday. Kind of interesting that Domingo and he was arrested on Sunday. Sort of fitting, right? Because Domingo's Spanish for Sunday. Anyway, off the topic. For allegedly starting 1 fire, he was released and arrested again hours later. Let's say that one more time. The guy gets busted for starting 1 fire. They let him go, and then he gets arrested later for starting 6 more fires. This guy's making his own little Molotov cocktails and just having a good old go at it. Thank you, Domingo. So appreciative of all your help in our problem here. So, does Antifa fear prosecution? They don't seem to, except in the places where the feds have gotten involved. Would they continue to operate if they did? And I think we've seen in some cases that when the feds really do crack down, yeah, it doesn't happen anymore. When the feds came out there to protect the courthouse wasn't getting attacked anymore. So we kind of do see a correlation there. And we also see that Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, the infinite piece of poo that he is, keeps talking about how we're going to pull the police back further, handcuff them even further. There's not even a police chief anymore. So now he's in charge. Again, I think this is what they're planning on doing. What organized groups are bailing out rioters within 24 hours of arrest? What happens post-bailout? Do charges remain enforced or dropped by DA? So the other article that is being shown here, prosecutor won't act on low-level Portland protests arrests. This guy is also a giant piece of poo. Him and Ted Wheeler deserve to be floating in the same toilet bowl, I think. I think they're 2 pieces of poo made for each other. But this guy, the newly elected district attorney of Portland, on Tuesday announced a new policy that means that cases will be dismissed against dozens and possibly several hundred people arrested on lesser charges at the ongoing protests. Lesser charges. What is a lesser charge? That's the big question. And pretty soon people are starting to wonder, is right here, committing a crime is different from demonstrating, Level said in a statement. The arrest we make often comes hours after damage to private property, disruption of public transit and traffic on public streets, theft from small businesses, arson, burglary, attacks on members of the community, and attacks against police officers. It's not like they're just out there going, hey, we hate you, death to the blue people. No, they're actually doing criminal things. So the DA is not going to act on these low-level arrests. Have all refusal to bring charges been related to low-level arrests? So again, we get back to the point of defining what is a low-level request. So right here, we got this last tweet from Andy No here. This is awesome. But DA Mike Schmidt, the new DA who isn't prosecuting Portland rioters, is a tweet promoting an interview with his buddy, a militant Antifa activist. His friend is part of campaign by communist Angela Davis to defund police, abolish prisons, and demand reparations. So here he is. Just before I was sworn in as DA, I sat down with an old buddy of mine at Awkward Rap for an interview about my priorities as district attorney and rethinking what public safety means. So there's this whole thing of keeping people safe, and then there's this idea of killing people and calling that keeping the public safe. I've just rethought it. Excellent. Well done. Well done, Mike Schmidt. You're a fine individual. Don't like you. Again, floating in the same toilet bowl. Sympathizer? Other, maybe? I mean, literally, it seems like these guys are attempting to go out of their way to try to make things worse. So again, the big question, what happens when prosecutors, board of county commissioner members, volunteer firefighters, etc., are sympathetic to the cause? What happens if the organization Antifa itself is aware of this? Infiltration, not invasion. That's what this whole thing has been about. Now, I want to point this out because this has been brought up before, and I just want to quickly go through it. I'm not going to kill this, but this is the 14th Amendment. It's talked about natural-born citizens. You cannot, enforce laws, abridge privileges, immunities, citizens. No state shall deprive a person of life, liberty, property without due process of the law. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property. When you allow criminals back into the streets, when you allow criminals to destroy my business, when you allow criminals to break into my home, when you allow criminals to throw Molotov cocktails and you arrest them and immediately put them back out on the street so they can create 6 more fires, when that is what you're doing, you are keeping me from my life, liberty, and property. So you've already broken Section 1. Section 2, representatives shall be appointed among several states according to their representative numbers, yada, yada, yada. Let's see, this is the one that has to be 21 years of age. Here it is. So to be a senator, all this crap in the middle, but ultimately to be a senator or a House of Representative or whatever, you cannot participate in rebellion or other crime. The basis of representation shall therefore be reduced by the proportion which the number of such male citizens shall bear. So again, the whole thing is about not allowed to participate in rebellions. If you're knowingly letting these things happen, you're participating. That's what that is. Section 3, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president or vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who has taken the oath, yada, yada, and as an executive or judicial officer of the state to support the Constitution of the United States shall engage in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to enemies thereof. Basically saying you can't be a senator or a member of Congress or even someone that's a mayor or governor if you're actually a part of these insurrections and rebellions. Section 3. Section 4, the validity of the public debt of the United States. So any debts incurred, any damage incurred by these insurrections, the United States people are not on the hook for. Which again, you've got California, Washington, and Oregon right now blaming their fires on global warming and certainly trying to get some of that money, but not doing what they need to do to get their economies rolling, to get everything calm in their cities. So the whole 14th Amendment is the whole Insurrection Act, and everything is based around this particular amendment. Post 4700, continuing on, worth remembering, think what you see today. Now, this one's a little tricky. Tried to dig into this to figure out what exactly is happening. When you click on the link, this is what you get: access denied, not allowed. When I shortened the link a little bit just to try to get to the root of it, I was trying to see if I could sneak my way in. And then just by adding document, I think was the next part. Yeah, documents. By adding that portion, that's instantly where I get the no permission. So I don't know. When I look in here, there's a lot of stuff about John Kerry, ironically. And I'm just kind of curious if this part maybe is farewell remarks, if there was maybe some more information. I haven't been able to figure out what they're actually sharing here. So I don't know. I don't know if it ties around John Kerry. We've been seeing some posts about him lately, and certainly Insurrection Act ties into that. So they're kind of building this story in that direction. So again, we'll continue on with this post though. Insurgency can be defined as the organized use of subversion and violence to seize, nullify, or challenge political control of a region. Insurgents seek to subvert or displace the government and completely or partially control the resources and population of a given territory. Think Chad and Chaz and Portland. They do so through the use of force, including guerrilla warfare, terrorism, and coercion or intimidation. There's a propaganda, subversion, and political mobilization that occurs. Insurgents will fight government forces only to the extent needed to achieve their political aims. They're not crazy. They know they can't win a war against the government, but they do so enough, like the death by 1,000 cuts kind of concept is really their aim. So their main effort is not to kill counterinsurgents, but rather to establish a competitive system of control over the population, making it impossible for the governments to administer its territory and people. Insurgent activity is therefore designed to weaken government control and legitimacy while increasing insurgent control and influence. Is that Portland in a nutshell? Is that what Ted Wheeler's doing? The guy who has less approval rating right now than even Trump in that state? Yeah, that's impressive. Insurgents require supporters, recruits, safe havens, money, supplies, weapons, and intelligence on government actions. This last part's very important. They have an inside communication, one might think, of what the government will or will not do. And when they have that sort of information, well, it makes it very easy for them to plan accordingly. So they'll also have a robust insurgency can be waged with the support of just a small percentage of a given population, which you can understand how a few bad Antifa apples are causing the whole bunch. When they go out and peacefully protest, these few bad apples are the ones that are like, hey, dude, here's a firecracker, throw it at the cops. Okay, lights it and throws it, boom, right? Now that kid's going to jail. The Antifa guy's still on the streets with a backpack full of explosives. Nothing's changed. So next, the counterinsurgency, which is where we're at right now, and I think many of us patriots realize where our responsibility lies, and this last part is where we're sitting right now. So the counterinsurgency may be defined as comprehensive civilian and military efforts taken to simultaneously defeat and contain insurgency and address its root causes. This is what is happening right now. Now, the civilian part, I think all of us are good about holding our ground, being careful, knowing our boundaries and kind of all that, right? But from the government side, a lot of things are starting to happen and build and build and build. Post 4701, we've got another great article here. This one I have to actually open now because it kept auto-playing the stupid video. Stop that nonsense. So very dangerous. Police and FBI investigate power poles cut with chainsaws in Snohomish County. And this is in Washington State. Again, it's all this wonderful, crazy stuff. I thought there was a picture in here. There was a picture somewhere showing the picture of the telephone poles that were cut down. For some reason, I can't see it in here. But they were showing telephone poles. We might find it, or this was the picture here. Either or. I think I've got another picture coming up. But they were showing the telephone poles with the cuts in them like you would try to down a tree from the chainsaw, which was the discussion we had about some of our posts yesterday. So again, there's more proof, more evidence of these things occurring. And again, here's this picture up in here with the chainsaw and the Antifa guys. Now this is kind of cool. This particular post, this guy got some major kudos for doing this post. And this is pretty impressive. And I don't know how this Anon or this autist was able to actually figure all this stuff out, but he's got lines here. So you guys remember this fire picture? I'm going to go ahead and open it up. You guys remember this picture up here with the 3 firemen, the chainsaw, the gas can, right? The whole 9 yards. Now, apparently we don't know who Mr. Pink is, for any of you who've seen that movie. It's a great movie. But you can see this middle guy. We got green lines going over to this individual. Green lines going to this individual. Same fireman. I'm guessing they're thinking through the beard, and I don't know. I don't know how these guys have figured this out. But then down here, we got a picture of this Oregon LP 22006. And that's that dude, it looks like, in the window right there. That's interesting. Here's the picture of the chainsaws that we're telling you about, right? This is a power pole that has the top cut, the bottom cut, and that's usually how you do that wedge so it falls. So again, we've had issues of downed telephone poles, people losing power and hopefully trying to start fires. We've got receipts. We've got back of pickups trucks, this pickup truck, I'm guessing, with gas cans in it. We've got driver's licenses, addresses, we've got tickets, we've got all sorts of crazy stuff in here that is demonstrating what is going on. I think the government is onto what's happening. If the autists can figure this out, the government knows what's going on. Money is flowing, and that is what is going to bust these people. And again, their symbolism will get them. These Antifa flags are going to bust these people every single day. So again, 4703, they were just giving kudos to this dude for doing a great post. And that's this post here. He's just right on. I mean, well done. Great post. Excellent work. This guy put together a lot of information in here. Again, how they did this, don't know. But yeah, here they are wondering if this is Mr. Pink. Guy's still got his back to him. Again, just amazing work going into this. 4705, got a YouTube video here that we're not going to watch. And it's just, again, it's part of the Patriot, the movie. I've got it stopped on a very cool scene. And it's kind of important just from the standpoint of what it represents. But again, Patriot, it's a noun. It's a person who loves, supports, and defends his or her country and its interests with devotion. A person who loves their country and, if necessary, will fight for it. A person who vigorously supports their country and is prepared to defend it against enemies or detractors. A person who regards himself or herself as a defender, especially of individual rights, against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't know about you, but I took the post way back when and made my declaration that I'm on board, and I'm the same way. I love this country. Both of my grandfathers have fought for this country. My grandpa was a radar operator in World War II on a USS Elliott. The USS. I've got it. I got the hat in my other room. Can't remember it off the top of my head. And my grandpa on my dad's side was a P-38 pilot, and so both of these guys did their fair share. Now, again, just a great part in this movie. This movie's incredible, by the way. The Patriot was the movie. Mel Gibson, good stuff. And Mel Gibson, after making just gobs of money on The Passion of the Christ, he's actually been able to kind of separate himself from this kind of evil tyranny. But his scene is where he's grabbing the American flag from a soldier that's running away, and he's charging the soldiers, the bad guys, if you will, to take this point with the American flag. And that's obviously the round one of the 1776 flag, I think that is. But again, a very powerful part of the movie and a great movie. If you guys haven't seen it, it's worth checking out. Speaking of that glorious symbol, here are people doing something horrible with it. I mean, again, we've gone to wars to give freedoms to people that they can actually do this. But this is about the most disrespectful thing you can possibly do in this country. And then on top of that, to be holding another flag with you. That's all sorts of bad. Insurgencies can be defined as the organized use of subversion and violence to seize, nullify, or challenge political control of a region. Domestic terrorism. So, of course, you've got these situations where people with American flags are then attacked. Anybody wearing a red hat is attacked. And that's what they're talking about. They try to take control of an area of the political people that oppose them. And since a lot of political people on the right kind of stand out, tend to wear colorful clothes, colorful hats, tend to have colorful flags, and all sorts of other shiny stuff. Sometimes it's pretty easy to figure out who they are. And that is basically how it works. You attack the part of the party that wants to go against you. And by putting them into the corner and scaring them, well, you kind of take away anybody's ability to do anything about you. And then you kind of own the streets. Well, that's not really how it's playing out, but that's their intention. That's what they're trying to do. So why are they provided safe havens, as pointed out here in post 4707? Why are these mayors and governors giving these guys safe haven? Andy No did a really cool little video here. I'm not going to play it because, frankly, it's not that good. It's interesting, and it's just talking about what he's about and his upbringing and how his family in Vietnam had to live in these like re-education camps and labor camps. And like this guy's family has been through basically what we're going through now. And I stopped it on a really cool part that really shows what this poor guy has been through. He got annihilated in that first riot way back in the day. Got jacked up. In fact, he's still got some damage to his brain that he's trying to work through because of what happened to him. He just got jacked. He got those shakes at the cement shakes and all that stuff. And look, he's got beat up eye. I mean, they jacked him up. So they screwed up Andy No really bad, and that's not cool at all. There's another really cool post. I don't know if that was this one. Let's see if I can find that. I don't know. It's coming up. It might be this next guy. It's right here, 4708. We got twitter.com. Heritage. Yeah, it's this next one. Cool. This Heritage status. This is pretty cool. Who is financing this? Follow the pin. Now, they don't give us any huge insight. And when I really tried to read this, there's nothing in here that's overly useful, but it does go to the point that they are looking directly into how these people are getting financed. In fact, this last part here, threat actors who are Let me see if I can make it bigger. Threat actors who are motivated by anarchist or Antifa, or a combination of both, ideologies to carry out acts of violence against state, local, and federal authorities and infrastructure they believe represent authority or represent political and social ideas they reject. Now, this was put out by Brian Murphy, the acting undersecretary for intelligence. Long story short, though, they're basically looking to see where the money's coming from. What that means when it comes to the public is they kind of already know. Trump has not tipped his hand at all. So when he does tip his hand, like, oh, we might do this, it's already happened. And oftentimes by him saying we might do this, a lot of the times that's meant to influence other people to scurry and scatter, kind of like when you cockroaches and you flip on the light and they all run away. It's basically what tends to happen. Trump makes these crazy little comments, and then all of a sudden, all the bad actors start doing weird stuff. Their comms start lighting up. They hop into game servers and try to have little secret conversations, and kind of makes it easy for NSA and a lot of these other people to figure out what's going on with these guys. These guys are monitored way more than they realize, not just Antifa, but a lot of the politicians that are already in question. Ted Wheeler, for example, just saying, just as an example. So the one thing I kind of wanted to show that I just thought was cool. It's a cool little thing from Wake Up here. So you see it's all written out in their fun little letters or words, right? Bravo, Lima, Mike. But if you look at the first letter, so BLM was FOU founded by Marxists. So Bravo, Lima, Mike, Whiskey, Alpha, Sierra. Anyway, I just thought it was kind of cool. Maybe not to everybody. Post 4709. This is kind of weird. These next four posts are very interesting. Sparked a lot of thought for me. I'm not 100% sure if I got it all dialed in, but I got some ideas. So Julian Assange, Seth Rich, John Brennan, Guccifer 2.0. What's weird to me, I don't know if you guys remember the Sesame Street, there was a song, 3 of these things belong together, one of these things is not the same. That's what first comes to me, right? So we see Julian Assange, Seth Rich, and Guccifer 2.0. To me, these three are kind of in the same little boat. They had information given to them, or information they possessed. They found out some very heavy stuff and have paid very significant prices for it. Obviously, Seth Rich was his life, and people speculate as to who was responsible for that. I think I agree 100%. Don't need to say it. But the other two, I mean, Guccifer, I think's in jail, like Romania or something like that. And then Assange is, I think they're trying to extradite him. He's been going through all sorts of crazy court stuff in England. So those three kind of make sense to me. And then I'm like, well, John Brennan, he's kind of like the bad guy, though, of all this stuff. And coincidentally, he also had information that didn't really belong to him. He had information that he possessed illegally. Now, these guys, I think, have information that basically benefits the patriots, that talk about some of the bad stuff that's been happening, that talks about some of the bad stuff the Democrats have been doing. And this guy, maybe he was a lot more directly responsible for what happened to these three. It's kind of one of the thoughts I have. This guy also is definitely one of the next to fall, and likely the very next to fall. This is the one that Durham talked to. And recently we had the post from Q that showed Comey and this guy's name written out, 48 and 50 times. Supposedly you could fit him into the World Trade Towers. And this whole thing, when these names come out, when this guy comes out and probably gets tied to these people, when that happens, he's toast. And that is going to be one of the biggest, craziest things that has probably ever happened to this country, to have the head of the CIA implicated in so many crimes against our own country. And to see him in bed, possibly with China, who knows all the stuff this guy was involved with, and who knows all the places he was leaking information. Again, Julian Assange, he was leaking information. Seth Rich kind of leaked information. Guccifer was leaking information. John Brennan was leaking information. These guys all have a lot of things in common, but I feel like this one, John, is like the bad one. Like he's the one that doesn't belong. I don't know. We'll see how that all plays out. I think without a doubt, John Brennan's coming into the news very soon. And I think there's some heavy duty information regarding him. And so kind of this one ties into that beautifully. So post 4713, 15, regarding Mueller team deleting text messages. This won't do. If government wants those messages, all they have to do is go to the NSA Stellar Wind database and pull them out, as all SMS going over the cell network are captured and stored forever. Oh no, did we not know that when we deleted our phones? Peter Strzok, are you not that smart? God, you seem like such a sharp guy when you're always being mean and you got that grumpy face on. I bet when you talked to your lover, you didn't sound like that, did you? No, but anyway, interesting. So yeah, this is already done. That's what they're saying. Again, do you think they have the information? Yes. When people intentionally delete their phones, that's criminal, especially when it's a company phone or a country phone for that matter. So yeah, some people are toast. Was John Brennan maybe responsible for offering up that suggestion? That's possible. Again, any number of things are possible, but they know what's going on. These people aren't hiding anything. And in fact, that's one of the best parts. The cover up is what always gets you, right? The cover up is what gets you. So finally, and this is a really important message to go out with, post 4714. Hold the line, riders. That's us. We're the Midnight Riders, all of us. Justice is coming. And I know a lot of you Q people, especially you that actually post on the boards, hate when people say justice is coming. Relax a little bit. You guys have to seriously give a little credit for how big this is. This isn't like somebody that stole a pack of gum. This is somebody that has truly tried to infiltrate this country, tried to change laws, tried to change Supreme Court people, tried to get people in places of power where they could sidestep any investigation. This is amazingly huge and without a doubt has to be unraveled to the point where you can bust people and it sticks. So it takes a lot of effort. And Durham's been very, very quiet. There hasn't been a lot of talking about him. He'll be done when he's done. No one will pin down the time on it. No one will pin down what's coming. They even asked Barr at one point, well, so you're telling me that nobody's going to get arrested? And he's like, oh, no, people will get arrested. Like, he's just like, no. Definitely getting arrested. Well, when's that going to happen? Well, I don't want to get into that. And again, I love watching Barr. He reminds me of, who was it? Tom Bosley from Happy Days. I don't know what it is. I love the guy. I just love the guy. And he just reminds me of Mr. C. I love the dude when I was growing up watching Happy Days, even though I think they only had like 3 seasons, but whatever. It was a great show. See if we got any fresh posts here. I don't think we do. Nothing since 4714. Folks, there's a lot going on. It's happening very quickly. This week is supposed to start ramping up. We're expecting to hear some major news this week and some major news next week. Keep tuned. Stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed to me, please do so. It makes a big difference in the channel. Share, like, all that great stuff. I love you guys. And remember, where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.